The build that you're watching right now is not your average Ahri comp. This is the comp that transformed the average classic Ahri comp into an S++ comp. I've been spamming this comp, and as you can see, my LP have been skyrocketing and gaining me more than 500 LP so far. And when it comes to my average on forecast units, it have never been better. If you want to hit Emerald, Diamond, Master or even higher, keep watching. The build-up has a huge impact, but let's first see what we are looking for. We have two very similar builds depending on what headliner we hit. The first one will be that we have to have 5 Sentinels in the front line with 4 units in the back line, Sona, Lulu, Ahri and Seraphine. In this situation, what we're looking for is Bliz as our headliner, and he wants to be a Sentinel. And when you have 6 in the trade, all you have to do is just taking out your weakest Sentinel unit, and here you have to choose by Garen or Cassandra. This makes the front line incredibly strong, and doing too that we have tons of magic resist and armor. This gives us all the time that we need to kill everyone from the backline. The second option we have is to have Ahri as our headliner, and here we want to have her as a Spellweaver. The only thing that we have to change is to put in Gragas and take out the weakest Sentinel unit that we have right now, and that will be Cassandra. So as you can see, these two boards is very similar. It just depends on what headliner unit that we hit. Is it Ahri? We have to play with Gragas. And are we playing with Bliz? We have to play one of the 2 other Sentinel units, Cassandra or Garen. That also means that we either are playing for 6 Sentinels and 5 Spellweavers, or we are playing for 7 Spellweavers and 4 Sentinels. This also means that we will have a very hard time playing this comp if we are contested by Disco and KDA at the same time. But I will give you the guidelines to play this even we are contested. I'll also give you one more option later, so you always have something to hit. And I will also cover the 3 biggest mistakes when you're playing this comp. Our main tank is Bliz, and that is why he is holding our tank items. Support items will go on Echo, and our main damage dealer in the mid to late game will be Ahri, so she is holding everything from AP to mana items. When we get to the very late game, we will put attack speed and also a Sojourn on Sona, but more on that later. This board have an insanely high spike at level 8 compared to how little gold it really costs. The board will more look like this at level 8, and the reason why it's cheap is there's only 2 units that are forecasts, and that also means that we can hit this board fairly quickly, and we can also use this spike to get to level 9 faster. Ahri is the most important unit to itemize, but we should not try to give her best items, and instead try to slam items as often as we can. Doing so, we want to save as much health in the early game as possible, and at the same time having a win streak. That means as soon as we can slam any of Ahri's items, we will do that, and not waiting for her perfect fit. She can use items like Blue Buff, Tooth and Gunblade in the best case, but don't be shy by using a Sojourn instead of Blue Buff, a Giant Slayer or Dual Gauntlet instead of Gunblade, or even combine these as you want to by using Blue Buff, Gunblade and Dual Gauntlet. A mana item is a must, but else you can just use all of these items. The second most important unit is Bliz, and he wants pure tank items like Bramble Vest, Claw and Warmong. But you can also use Crown Guard or Heart. And can you only get 2 of these items, you could also go for something like a Spark, Sunfire Cape or Redemption. Echo can use the same items as Bliz, but we do rather have the pure tank items on Bliz. Meanwhile, Echo can hold the more supporting tank items like Sunfire Cape, Spark and Redemption. But you could also be completely fine by using other tank items like Crown Guard or Warmong as well. When we get to the very late game, Sona's attack speed items is super important. She can even be the main damage dealer over Ahri if she has the right fit. But doing so this is in the late game, we will itemize her as the last unit. Here you can even go for 2 Rage Blades items as Sojourn, but else use items like Shiv or Red Buff. Do we already have the items that we need in the mid game? We can start slamming some of these items and just put them on Lulu and transfer the items over later. As mentioned, the build-up is a huge part of this comp, and here's how we do it. We're gonna play fairly aggressively, and we want to pick up augments that are very strong for the board right now. That could be something like Healing Orb, Dual Gauntlet, Raising the Tempo, New Recruit, Big Grabback or Cybernetic Bulk. This will give us an easier chance of win streaking or saving a lot of health. But you could also go for experience or economy augments that will give us a faster level 8 by getting you up in levels faster than everyone else and giving you a stronger board by having more units and more traits active. We want to play the strongest board possible, and the headliner we pick is very important. Even some 80 units can be really strong in the early game. We want to pick someone that fits a good build-up for this comp. Annie is the perfect item holder, and units like Kennen, Lilia and Evelyn can be useful as well as long as you have units that makes the headliner's units traits active. Do you for some reason end up with a headliner like Senna, you can also play around her. You should prefer to use these kind of units. Doing so, it's way easier to use them when you want to pivot into your full board. But are you getting yourself a strong board around other units, you can easily use them to go up in levels faster and transfer your units around later in the game. But no matter what you're playing, you want to hold or use units like Cassante, Garen, Lilia, Seraphine, Gragas from the early game. And meanwhile you're holding or using these units, you want to slam items, pick strong augments and try to win rounds. As soon as you get to the mid game, you will start adding in Lulu, Echo and Mordekaiser. And these units can as well be on the bench or be on your board. If you're lucky to get Ahri or Bliz, you will take these units any day of the week. During the mid game, we have to scout and see how many of the other players is playing something similar to us. And are you bad at scouting? Try to look for items what they have slammed. A Last Whisper, Infinity Edge or Deathblade is a good cue too that they are not playing the same as us. After the third augment at stage 4-2, we want to see yourself get to level 8 soon. There's only 10 of each 4-cost units in the pool, and the pool is shared, and that means if other players is holding Bliz and Ahri, we do have a harder time to hit the headliner that we want. And if someone have a headliner already, you will have a very hard time to hit what you're looking for. And remember, if there isn't at least 5 units of the 4-cost units in the pool, you can hit that unit as a headliner. And doing so there only is 10 units, we will have a hard time if we are contested before hitting a headliner. That also means that we have to go to level 8 fairly quickly, and I do it on an average around stage 4-5, and that is just after the carousel. Here you will sell your headliner and roll to hit one of the 2 headliners that we want, Sentinel Bliz or Spellweaver Ahri. And meanwhile we are rolling down, we want to pick up other units that fits the board to get everyone to 2-star. If we do not hit what we want, we donkey roll every round to hit the headliner that we need. Do we get Bliz as a disco? We do not want to play it. But do we hit Ahri as a KDA? We will pick it up. This is also the option that I mentioned before that we also could play into. We just prefer the 2 others, but are we hitting a KDA, we have to pivot our board into KDA instead. This is the classic one where we just put in as many KDA as possible. It is fairly easy to pivot into this comp, and it is the classic one that everyone knows. Assuming that we hit the headliner that we want to roll to hit the other 4-cost units to 2-star as well. And usually, meanwhile we are doing this, everyone else is getting to 2-star as well. From here, we just want to go to level 9 and add in Sona. When we add Sona, and if she have a lot of attack speed items, we should go for damage. Doing so, she does tons of damage. Every time she casts, she will do damage to the 5 closest enemies around her. And if the other players do not have that many units on the board at that time, we will start doing tons of damage to the backline. And are we combined with 6 Sentinels in the front line, she does have the time to do more than a few casts. And even so, if Ahri is getting to the backline, she will only have to cast once. If Sona doesn't really have any items, you could just go for attack speed instead. This is not the ultimate comp for getting firsts, but it is a perfect comp to get a top 4 every single game and still be a strong contender for a top 1. Just before we go over a few things while we look at a gameplay, I just have a few recommendations for playing this. Slam items, don't be picky about area items, play tempo instead of loose streaking, and don't try to go for RV 3-star over going level 9. And just as important, remember to subscribe for more guides like this. As you can see in some of these games, I slam items as soon as I can to give myself a bigger chance of winning every round. I do also try to put in units that activate traits from a headliner to buff it up even more and making sure that I have a strong comp right now. If my units and items is not enough, I don't mind going level 6 already at stage 2, and especially if it gives me a 5 win streak. Do I already have a 5 win streak, I will go level 6 before stage 3-2, because that is where everyone else is going to do it. I always look to be the strongest player in the lobby, and again, if I need to, I will go level 7 at stage 3-5. And from here, I just want to go to level 8 as fast as possible with enough gold to roll down for the headliner unit that I need. And at the same time, I do try to hold units that I need for the full comp on my bench or even play them on the board. And if I can, I will swap out a unit that are stronger as soon as I see one. This aggressive playstyle works really well with this comp, making sure that you let everyone else bleeding out before you and even being contender for top 1 at the same time. Good luck on climbing, and I see you in my next guide.